Hey guys, it's Jen from Caketastic Cakes, and in this video I'm going to show you what I did in order to take a cake that I made for Sans from Undertale and turn it into a Bendy cake from Bendy and the Ink Machine. And this was a live stream video that I did, so this footage is going to be too angled and a little weird and that kind of thing, but just bear with me. It'll be okay. So I started with my Sans cake, and if you are just wanting to make a Bendy cake, then all you have to do is make a 6-inch round cake, just one layer of cake. And this bottom cake was 8 inches, and I think there was 3 layers on there if I remember correctly. But in the meantime, I am stripping this puppy down. I removed his head. I'm going to get rid of his head because it's just the wrong shape and I can't use it. But the body I'm going to keep. I'm going to keep it and reshape it. And you can see me like talking and gesturing, and it doesn't match up because I'm doing the live stream and I'm talking to the people in the chat as I'm doing this. So don't mind that part. I stripped the body down, re-iced it. I've got my 6-inch head here and a template that I cut out of Bendy's head itself. I know that Bendy's head is actually round, but for this purpose I wanted to keep it a little simpler and still have a nice clean effect. So I just cut out the wedge at the top to make it look a little more Batman-y, I guess you could say, or Catwoman-y, however you want to look at it. And then I'm going to ice it, put it in the fridge, let it set up. And this is going to become basically a cake top forward kind of style cake. So I'm cutting off a bottom piece as small as I can. And I know that Bendy's head is perfectly round, but I need it to sit and not fall off. So I am going to take liberties. I cut a little bit off the bottom, put a little piece of cake plate, stick it back in the fridge. I'm going to recover the bottom there with some black fondant. And I'm just going to smooth it down, trim off the extra, just like you always do. In order to smooth down, you're going to lift up the bottom of the skirt and just press down inside of it to flatten it out as best you can. Trim off the extra, moving on. I added some extra fondant to my cake plate because Bendy takes place in a video game that's supposed to look like a black and white animation. And the idea is that it's real old-fashioned and everything is kind of dingy and dulled. So even though it's black and white, it's actually more like black and sepia tones. So I'm using some gold mustardy colored fondant to cover up my cake plate. I cut it out to make it kind of look like a toilet seat cover. Cover up the cake plate, trim off the extra, whatever. Now in the game itself, Bendy's coming, the ink is all over the floor, and the floor in the game is just yellow wooden floor, so I'm making wooden planks here. I'm just using a veining tool to make indentations. I'm making some long ones and then some little wiggles. I'm going over it with some more of my gold paint, or excuse me, gold food coloring. I mixed it with a little bit of water just to give it a little more shading and tones and depth, which I then ended up covering mostly with chocolate later, but, that's on me. And again, because it is a black and white game, everything has to be outlined and cartoony looking, so I'm going heavy with the black lines in the seams I made to make it look more like planks of wood. I don't know that I would do this again. I really should have gotten a picture to reference it instead of just doing it from memory, but it is what it is, right? So, yes, I took some more black fondant and put it around the body because, again, these characters in the game are all ink and they will form puddles and come out of puddles on the floor. So that's kind of the idea there, is that there's an ink puddle that Bendy is coming up and out of. As far as his head, I took it out of the fridge. I rolled some black fondant out nice and thin, laying it over. I'm going to smooth out the front and the back as best I can, and then the sides I'm going to pinch and trim. If I had more black fondant, I probably could have done it longer, and I probably could have smoothed it down all in one go. But I didn't, and so I'm working with what I had here. And yeah, trimming it off is actually not a big deal as long as you're careful about merging your seams and blending them together. This was for fun for a fireside, so I did not put a ton of effort into this, I'm not going to lie, but you can see I trimmed it off. I just used a pair of scissors to trim it down. I pinch it together. I do go back over it later with a wet paintbrush to smooth the seam a little bit so it at least lays flat. But as far as the kids watching in the live stream, they couldn't tell, so yeah, there you go. And it still looks pretty good. Yeah, my half effort there. Okay, so got the cake, got the body, got the cake plate, now we need the face. I'm taking that same template as before, cutting out that center part. I'm using some more beige color, and I'm going to just outline it. That's all it is. Just trim it out. This is gum paste that I'm using right now, by the way. I switched over because I find when I'm doing stuff like this, fondant can be a little too stretchy, and I wanted it to be more firm. So I'm using some black gum paste also for the eyes. I had cut them out of the face before I threw it in the garbage. So there are the eyes. I stuck them onto the gum paste with a little bit of water on the back. There's a mouth. This is the only thing that I did that was actually white in this whole thing was his teeth. And I wanted them to stand out, so that's why I did it like this. I'm outlining his mouth with just a long, thin piece of black gum paste that I cut. Again, makes it look a little more cartoony, a little more proper. It's just how he looks, so that's why I did it. And I'm going to now copy his teeth. He has straight up and down teeth. We're talking rubber hose style comics from a long time ago, and I'm just matching it up with the actual template, so now the teeth and everything all line up. Some water on the back of the face, and when you put it onto the cake, the fondant, it will stick just like that. There he is. He actually looks super cute. He was fun to make. I'm going to add a few wooden dowels to support his head when I put it on there, and because it is such a tiny little cake plate, I'm only using 3, and I'm going to add a little bit of icing to help cement it all together because I really don't want his head falling off. So yeah, there you go. Press it on, and there you go. Now it's sitting there. He has a few more details that I'm going to add before I call him done. I'm going to give him his bow, because he's got a nice cartoony looking bow. I'm freestyling this, so I just did an arch on the bottom, and on the top, think of like a really loose, like letter M or something like that, like when you draw a bird when you were a kid in the sky. So yeah, that's all it is. I outlined the center circle with a little more of that black gum paste. Put a little line on either side just to make it look more like a bow. And then carefully place it so that it kind of hides the fact the bottom of the neck, or excuse me, the bottom of the head is not flat. I've got a couple pieces of fondant that I just rolled into long pieces, long tubes there for his arms. I'm brushing over it with a little bit of the gold, and I also used my black food coloring marker to put a couple streaks on him to make him look more aged, so it'll match the rest of the look of the board and everything. And then I've got some black chocolate drizzle. Again, my character is an ink monster, so he's kind of melty and inky and drippy, and I wanted to do it this way. So yeah, I put it around there, and then I'm like, you know what? This would look better on the bottom than that fondant I put down. And so I filled in the bottom with some of it as well, as you can see. I don't know, honestly. You can see the color difference, so I'm not sure how I like it. I like how it looks wet and drippy. I think that part came out really good, but I don't know if I do it the same way the next time or not. But here he is. It's Bendy, so he looks pretty good either way. And yeah, there he goes. So thank you for watching my video. Please check out my others. I've got a lot of other ones out there, all different genres. Please like and subscribe because that really helps me out. And as always, thank you for watching Caketastic Cakes.